damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It is Thursday, the 26th of March. The NFL draft is right around the corner, and you're here for the OG hour. Adam, it's chaos over here. My dog's barking her head off. There's somebody here painting. So like anytime he emerges from where he's working, she just loses her mind. So hopefully you can't hear the dog, but and also
I can't hear anything.
We got the green memo today.
We did. We got the green memo. We're ready to go to war. I'll tell you what, man. It feels like the draft should be here. My equilibrium is way thrown off because we've been in off-season mindset for this is usually when the draft comes around. Because if you think about it, the Chiefs season was over 5 weeks earlier than normal. We're so accustomed to going to the Super Bowl, which is just a ridiculous thing to say out loud, but it feels like the draft should be here.
Yeah, it really does. And it's tough because it's like I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, it's the 26th. We're like a month out from the draft. What the hell are we going to talk about for the next 4 weeks? Because I just feel like we've beaten a dead horse, on some of these players, and the combine and all that stuff is over. And now it's, now it's rumor season and, misdirect season. Like I hope that Dan Orlovsky and everybody who is pumping up Ty Simpson right now, man, like move him up that draft board, baby, get him into the top 10. We want some of those position players to fall back to Kansas City.
I hope he gets a cut, man. I mean, he's doing serious work for Ty Simpson.
I like Dan Orlovsky. I think he's being genuine. I know people have conspiracy theories that they work for the same CAA, represents both of them, and someone's giving him a bag under the table. I just, I don't know. I think he seems like a genuine guy. I'm not saying he's right. I'm not saying he's right.
But I mean, if we look back to last year, Tyler Shuck was underrated. Bo Nix was underrated. It's not the craziest line of thinking. And one thing that kind of frustrates me about draft season is everyone gets so locked into this hive mind that anytime you try to bring an outside take and look at it independently, people just freak out. You have to fall in line with consensus, and we love this guy, we hate this guy. And really, you shouldn't hate anybody. It's just like hate the value, not the player, right?
Right. Yeah. You put out a Chiefs mock with a Mekhi Lemon pick. You're going to get blown up with guys who don't want to ever see another smaller receiver in Kansas City again. You're going to get blown up with people who are like, he interviewed weird. You know what I mean? And it's just like, no matter what, whenever you put out a mock, there's one guy in there saying it's the worst mock he's ever seen. It doesn't matter who you could take every possible combination of players, and no one will be happy. But
the other interesting thing is the one position you don't pick. There's always the guy, where's the linebacker? And I'm like, you can't fill every hole in one draft. It's impossible. Yeah. I think people need to understand that about the Chiefs or really any other team.
Yeah, you're going to come away, I think, especially with the top, 3 rounds worth of picks that the Chiefs have. You kind of can't get everything you want. If you're going shopping at the edge rusher store, the wide receiver store, the defensive interior store, and the cornerback store, you're just not. You're gonna see something's going to be left out, and you need to find out where the depth is in this draft, so you can hopefully find contributors later and get the best possible players that are on the board when it's your turn. And in the spirit of that, we've got a great show for you today. We're gonna, in just a minute, we're gonna talk to our old pal here at FanSided, Tyler Brooke, from Best Available. We'll get into all that, but he's here to break down the draft for us, because this is what he does. day and night. He's doing scouting reports. He's got a YouTube channel, and he's been into the draft as long as I've known him. And we want to ask him because God knows you've heard our opinions on some of these players over the weeks, and you will for the next 4 weeks. So it's always great to get some outside perspective, and especially somebody who's not a Chiefs fan. Tyler is not a Chiefs fan. Probably wishes he was, but he's not. So he'll be able to give us a little bit more of an unbiased take. Let's bring him in right now. Our old pal, Tyler Brooke. He's the founder of at Best Available YT on Twitter. You can find him on his YouTube channel. He writes for Acme Packing Company. That might give you a little bit of a clue to who he's for. Hasn't had a bad run in fandom himself. And he's previously been at the 33rd team. He's had his work featured on Bleacher Report, Yahoo Sports, and of course right here at FanSided. Tyler, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, and I got a little trivia for you because it's been a while since we worked together. Do you remember the first guy I wouldn't shut up about when we worked together in the Chicago office as a draft prospect?
Mitchell Trubisky.
No, I not like Trubisky.
Oh, I swear to God, you recommended Mitchell Trubisky to me as a possible quarterback option.
No,
we were walking
might
back
remember
from lunch.
This better.
Okay, all right.
It was
right,
Patrick Mahomes. I would not shut up about Patrick Mahomes when we were in that office. And lo and behold, all this time later, you guys just kind of get to reap the benefits of that.
I don't know why I don't remember why I don't remember that, and why I think you told me that you liked Mitchell Trubisky as a possibility.
His deep ball.
Maybe it was early in the process.
Well, it's good to see you guys. It has been a hot minute, so I'm really happy to be jumping on. I love the draft, so this is my favorite time of year. Quick correction: the current, right today, the month before the draft, not my favorite time of year. You guys just mentioned Dan Orlovsky, all of that. We're getting to some of we're over analyzing agility drills and bend against bags, and whether or not Fernando Mendoza is actually good. This is the worst time of the process.
You are also a Pacers fan, like myself.
Die hard.
Remember,
die hard. Yeah.
Number one pick, baby. Let's just keep crossing our fingers.
Just top 4, man. I don't even care. Just give me I don't care. Just give me a top 4 pick. Even though they didn't win it all, it was the greatest postseason run of any team I've ever rooted for. I can't even begin to tell you how much fun I had. The way it ended, I still have not recovered.
I did not enjoy it. As a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, I did not enjoy it.
Well, when your two favorite players, Patrick Mahomes and Halliburton, both in their season with devastating injury, it's a tough year. I'm ready to move on.
I feel
that.
I mean, the Halliburton choke thing, though, was iconic. Absolutely incredible.
Of all the comebacks they made in that playoffs, which there were many, I was even at one against Milwaukee. That Knicks one was that'll go into history books forever.
Reggie Miller laughing on TNT or whatever it was, just epic.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hard even though my team got eliminated by these guys, they're easy to root for. And I'm always here for anybody that's dunking on the Knicks. I can't stand Knicks fans. They're the absolute worst. Our own Matt Verderam is a Knicks fan. And
oh, yeah. Yes, he is.
Yeah. I remember when he used to say that they should have a closed casket funeral in the center of Madison Square Garden for the Knicks. He's probably singing a little bit of a different tune these days now that they've returned to respectability. But let's talk about the Chiefs. Let's talk about the draft. Yeah. Tyler, first of all, can you just tell everybody a little bit about Best Available? You're all over the place. You're on YouTube. You're on Twitter. You're on TikTok. That's where I started finding your stuff. But yeah, can you just give everybody where can they find you and what's the deal?
Yeah, so I started the YouTube channel mostly because one of the things missing in my resume was video editing, right? So I was just trying to think of a way to A, brush up on those skills, and B, just kind of have, with how chaotic this industry is, just have a little piece of something independent and grow it, right? So I really wanted a place where I can just focus on the things that I really care about with football, which is, I've got that coaching background at this point. I've been grinding film for 15 years at this point. I was I just want a place where I can watch film, get rid of all the negative stuff, all the toxicity, just talk football. Some of the discourse around the sport I love gets very annoying. And I just want to be let's just enjoy it, hype up things we like. I don't do winners and losers. I just do winners. I just really want to have fun with it. So that's just kind of been my whole mentality around Best Available. Yeah, it's just a way to just, show my work on stuff. It's, like when you have a take and you want to show your work, that's just, I kind of want to do the show your work portion of it. So I've had a ton of fun with it. It's grown tremendously since we started in July. It's been awesome. So if you want to give a like and subscribe to that, it'd mean the world to me. It's at Best Available YT on socials, or just Best Available on YouTube. We've got all kinds of stuff. And I was just talking before the show, I will be doing a Chiefs mock draft after I've talked with you guys a little bit, because I'm going to probably pick your brains talking through draft needs to help me a little bit out with that.
Yeah, we're going to collab with Tyler on that when he does it. So keep an eye here on our channel as well. But make sure you follow Best Available. Good follow on TikTok too if you like some of the more of the short form content. Engage with Tyler's channel on TikTok, because then when you're just mindlessly doom scrolling, you'll get these little pop-ups of Tyler breaking down a certain aspect of a player, and it's just, I've learned a lot from them. So
appreciate that.
Yeah. Let's learn a little bit more here. So one thing I've heard about this draft is that it's a deep draft, but not necessarily a crazy top-heavy draft. Everyone's already talking about the 2027 draft, and we want to stockpile picks for that one because it's supposed to be an epic draft. But talk to us about this one. Are there any, how many, or are there any blue chip prospects in this draft, in your opinion?
So glad you asked. So to answer your question, I think I kind of agree with that sentiment. I actually have a ton of day 2 grades, which to me, I kind of like these are going to be contributors. Oh, there's my cat. He always wants to be the star of the show. Just a lot of day 2 players and stuff like that. I have 3 blue chip prospects, and I'm usually pretty picky about my blue chips.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Caleb Downs, Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles.
You nailed it. And Styles is the one that took me a while to accept, because I really liked the film. It's just such a funky body, like a rare size. But then you see the athletic testing, all of that, and then you combine it with just being at the combine is what sold it for me. Just getting to hear him in an interview, and that's rare for me to move a guy into a blue chip because of how he's just speaks. But that dude is so all business about the sport that it makes me even a bigger fan of his. I think you got to start to realize just how cerebral he is. You combine that brain with that athletic profile and the way he plays. I mean, I loved watching the Michigan game where, Snow starts hitting the second half. It's kind of a sloppy game, and he's just out there just I'm going to start headhunting and just try to throw my body around. And boy, can he be an impactful player in the middle of a defense.
Chiefs fans really don't like the idea of Sonny Styles at 9, but I think there are so few guys in the NFL at that position that are Fred Warner or Roquan Smith. If you get one of them, they can be sort of transformational for the defense.
Well, the other thing I keep thinking about too, and this has been my hypothesis throughout the offseason, with the way that NFL offenses, everyone always likes to think that we're just spreading out. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think we are condensing offensive formations. I think you saw a lot of it with McVay and the Rams this year, going to 12 and 13 personnel, so multiple tight ends on the field. It feels like the way to unlock that as a defense is having these versatile freak athletes in the box. And Nick Imonwori is the number 1 player that stands out to me when thinking about that. Think about the impact he had on Seattle's defense. Now, Styles is not a safety, but he is a box defender. And when you have that kind of athleticism that you can move him in a bunch of different roles, and he has that size, length, speed to be in coverage, I think defenses need more of that, in big bodies and guys willing to eat blocks up in the trenches. I just think you're about to start seeing a pretty significant shift in the way that we're playing football again, back to more condensed physical football versus maybe a decade ago we were all about the spread offenses.
Well, you're seeing people load up on running backs in a way that they haven't before. They're starting to pay running backs again. We saw obviously what Kenneth Walker III did in the Super Bowl and how big of an impact he made, what Saquon's done. So it's not surprising that things are starting to swing back a little bit as teams try to take advantage of all those softer coverages. Now, you mentioned those blue chip guys, a couple Ohio State guys in there for me. I'm an Ohio State fan. But one I didn't hear that I'm a little bit surprised is Arvell Reese. What are your thoughts on him? Because I mean, when I look at that dude's athletic profile, and not just where he's at now, but I think where he could be in the next couple of years, I get pretty excited.
I mean, he's still a top 10 guy for me. That is still a rock solid first round pick. If he goes top 10, I think that is absolutely deserved. Personally, for me, I think he's more of an off ball linebacker that you can throw out on the edge a little bit. And I don't think that's anything against him. I believe last year was his first year in a full-time role with Ohio State. And you turn on that Texas game right away. It was so clear. It was who the hell is that guy? That, start turning on the tape, following him along. And I don't think he's the bendiest, but I love him off the edge, like speed to power bull rushing. I love him being used as a spy. I think it kind of fits along these lines of just having like a versatile freak athlete defender. I have him lower than Styles mostly because, it feels like there's times where he just kind of disappears from games. He is still clearly learning what, playing off-ball linebacker is all about, because you can see there's times where he's either hesitant or just reading the wrong key, and then just taking on blocks. Like for a guy that, absolutely athletic, he's like, I don't really need to take on blocks. I'm just faster and more explosive than everyone. But I think it's a really underrated component to playing the position is like, listen, there's going to be a guard climbing to the second level. And if you don't take him on correctly, you're going to get tossed out the club. So let's work on the technique a little bit. Let's work on those eyes. I'm worried about someone trying to make him a full-time edge. I just really think it can limit that length that he brings, in as a 3-down player.
A player that gets mocked to the Chiefs a lot is one of the blue chip guys that you mentioned, and that is Caleb Downs. He's obviously super versatile, can pretty much put him anywhere you want, but he ends up at the Chiefs in a lot of mock drafts at 9, I think, because of the whole positional value thing. What's your take on him, and what's your take on the idea of positional value versus a guy that you think is a true blue chip player?
All right, a couple things there. Caleb Downs is my number 1 player. I've been watching him since a freshman. He is the best safety I've scouted in 13, 14 years of doing this. And yes, I mean, even above Minkah Fitzpatrick. He may not have the length that Fitzpatrick brings, but what he brings is elite instincts. He's always in the right position. He's been doing that since he was a freshman at Alabama. And he may not be the biggest, but he is pound for pound one of the best tacklers I've ever evaluated. He tackles like he's a national champion wrestler, if that makes sense. Like he just knows how to get low, wrap at those hamstrings. And then what I love is when he does that, so many super athletic players like to just do that, look flashy and just try to like pop with your shoulders. He's bringing his feet through contact. I love the way he tackles. He's always in the right position. He's just all over the field. So I'm a huge fan of that. And positional value, my take on it is it depends on the draft. In a class like this, I don't care, because like there's not that many elite talents in this draft class. But like, let's say in 2027, when we're talking about, theoretically blue chip players at like 6, 7, 8 positions, I'm going to think a little bit longer about that. But I just think the tier, Caleb Downs is Eric Berry clone, kind of like that. But I'm obsessed with Downs, and in a class like I'm thinking about him at like 3 or 4. I really don't care. Like even if I have a pretty solid secondary, I'm just like, let me get one of the players I'm not going to stress about or lose my job over by taking.
Do you think safety depth with guys like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, and I think Brugler has something like 8 in his top 100, 8 safeties in his top 100. Do you think that's a reason to pass on a player like Caleb Downs and look at them later, especially given Kansas City is known for finding kind of unheralded gems in the secondary?
Man, I'll give you credit on that one, because that is a really good take on it. Yeah, it is a deep safety class. I think the thing is, so many of them are all kind of the same breed outside of Downs and maybe like one other guy near the top, but they're all these hybrid kind of like aliens that can play in the box, kind of like an Emmanuel, like, McNeil-Warren's a good example. I'm a huge fan of AJ Halsey. He's kind of like my dream box safety, can play single high and just, crash downhill on a dig route and jump it. But yeah, that is a thing I'd consider, especially when you're a team like the Chiefs that has a pair of first-round picks. But I mean, it's just in a draft class where everyone has just like at least one little question mark here and there. Like I kind of want the player that I trust is not only going to be like a really good player, but from all accounts that he's going to be a tremendous leader in your locker room as well.
I got a lot of questions about different position groups and so on and so forth.
Dude, I could go on for hours. So
I want to get to this one right off the top. Chiefs are sitting there at number 9, as you know. What do you think is like the best case scenario or the most likely scenario for them at number 9? And if you were Brett Veach, who would you be targeting in that range?
If Rueben Bain fell to 9, it would not take me a second to like sprint that pick in. I can't stand the discourse around this guy. It is all about his arm length. And my favorite tweet, I think, of the draft cycle is Brett Coleman tweeted, "Yeah, well, have you considered that he has rabies?" Because that is how he plays. This is a 275 pounds, 280 pound edge that bends unlike anyone else in this class. Maybe Cassius Howell, but he's an undersized edge. But then he plays the run tremendously well. He's one of the very few edge prospects you can see successfully execute a hump move like Reggie White could. I have Packers jerseys in the background, so I'm a little biased there, but he is such a 3-down player that doesn't get the credit for what he's capable of doing because he can win in multiple ways as a pass rusher. He's a way more polished than you'd expect. He's obviously incredibly powerful, but it is those speed bend rushes that will blow you away from a guy of his size. And I just think, if for some reason people are so caught up about that arm length and he drops to 9, this is not a question for me. People are like, let's kick him into D tackle. I'm like, you can sometimes. I just think you're really negating the skill set that you have from him, where I think he's like my number 4 prospect. I think he's right behind the blue chip guys. And the only reason is the arm length. Like if it was like he had 32.5-inch arms or whatever, is like fine. He's a blue chipper in my eyes. He's just that kind of player.
His, I guess, comeback to all the attacks on his length, comparing himself to Mike Tyson, saying that Mike Tyson wasn't the longest or the tallest, but
that's awesome.
You felt his power. I mean, and then just his teammates and the coaches down in Miami giving him shit because he doesn't care about how he dresses. His hair makes him look like a homeless person. Apparently, all this guy does is eat, sleep, breathe ball, and you love that, right?
Yeah. After coaching high school football, I used to think it was so stupid, when I was younger, thinking about it, and does this player really care for football? Who cares? But like, I really am starting, the older I get, to more and more value those kind of guys, because those guys, even if they're not fully developed yet, like they're going to put in the work to get better.
All right, I want to do an exercise with you because I spend pretty much every free second I have doing PFF mock draft.
Same.
It's fun. It's just fun to play around with the different builds. Like, what if I go 2 wide receivers in the first round? Like, how does that change things? What does it look like? And just as a little exercise, because I think the Chiefs they're in a really great spot at number 9, and somebody could follow them, but you could also end up with a situation like this. And I want to know what you would do if you were Brett Veach.
Okay.
Mendoza goes to the Raiders. Arvell Reese goes to the Jets. Sonny Styles off the board at 3. David Bailey off the board at 4. Jeremiah Love goes to the Giants. Francis Maioga goes to the Browns. Rueben Bain goes to the Commanders. And Caleb Downs goes to the Saints.
Did you say Carnell Tate?
Carnell Tate is on the board. Mansour Delane is on the board.
All the receivers on the board, right?
Listen, if we're just going off my board in rankings, it's very close, but Carnell Tate for me. I see a Devontae Adams type player from Tate. Like I did a lot of, I feel like wide receiver is the position I don't like to brag about this stuff. I feel very confident in my wide receiver evaluations every year. I watch Carnell Tate. A guy that tall should not be that fluid. And on top of that, he should not be able to be that physical at the catch point. Those are all traits that are preposterous in a guy of his frame. I don't care about his 40 time. I could not care less about what he ran in the 40-yard dash. He is such a smooth operator. He can handle press because of that length, and he's got some toughness to him. That route stem is gorgeous, and when he's finishing catches, like he can just do it all. And it's a craft, right? Wide receivers are continually evolving and developing over off seasons. You keep letting a guy with that, just the way he moves in that body, to develop as a more complete receiver, it's not fair, man. Like that guy, especially for a team, I know the Chiefs have had some, misses might be too harsh of a word, but some wide receivers haven't panned out the way they want. Carnell Tate is just such an instant impact player in my eyes.
So I'll follow up with that then, because I have the Chiefs do need help at receiver, in my opinion. Rashee Rice is an idiot. So I'm all draft season. Anybody who's listening to me, I'm just pretending he's not on the team. If he's there, it's a bonus because he can play, but it's a bonus. Xavier Worthy, and maybe I'll ask you about him in a second, is not proven to me based on where they've taken him. I know he was hurt last year, but like the production is what it is. And right now it's the same as McCole Hardman through his first 2 years, roughly. So we already talked about Tate. The Chiefs just hosted Tate and Mekhi Lemon for top 30 visits. Tyson's out there. Then towards the end of the background where the Chiefs have another pick, people are projecting guys like Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion, Chris Bell, Omar Cooper Jr. What's your take on the wide receiver class as a whole? And if you're the Chiefs and maybe you're not able to get Tate, should they be looking at a guy like Lemon, or can they get really sneaky value back there at number 29 or even at 40?
I just think the top of this wide receiver class is a lot better than we're getting. And yes, there's a ton of depth to it. I mean, I'm even like an Elijah Surratt and Jeremy Bernard guy is top 50 grades. But I just think the top of this class, whether it's even Lemon a little bit, but mostly Tyson and Tate, I think these are two guys that are going to be like, they got Pro Bowl, all pro caliber to them. Tyson's one that really surprised me because I didn't think I was going to like him. I'm like, he's a contested catch guy. I had watched some of his 2024 tape and I'm like, oh yeah, body control, all that. He really drastically improved as a route runner last year. And I came away really impressed with that athletic profile. So yeah, it's deep. And like, I'm sure the Chiefs, if they don't take one, it's really not the end of the world because they can definitely get an impact player. But I just think, in my opinion, doing a lot of this, I just think the top of this draft class has some special kids. And for a Chiefs offense where it's just, I'm sure you guys are a little annoyed at, some of these guys not panning out and the undersized ones. I think I would just take the swing on a guy like Tate. That being said, late first round, it is one of the smaller guys. I do like Casey Concepcion, but I was also a Matthew Golden guy, and they just kind of play similar to me from their college profiles.
I have this dream of, like, just when I see a guy the size of Denzel Boston because of all the Chiefs undersized receivers. Talk to me about Denzel Boston. He seems to be a polarizing prospect to a lot of Chiefs fans. I want your take.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's not a true, in my eyes, true burner. He's got some contested catch, but what really stands out for him is his quickness at that size. I'm very impressed with his, footwork, foot speed, agility, and all that. And, it's rare to see a 6'4", as a 200+ pound receiver punt returning in college. That kind of floored me when I was watching, just a Washington game one Saturday. He is a really unique talent. I am very curious to how the league sees him, because I think you have a certain perception of a guy that size. I don't think he plays. I don't know if this makes sense, but I don't think he plays the way you'd expect when you see him and see his measurables. But I kind of mean that as a compliment. So I am just curious to see how the league views him. I could see where it's maybe someone that NFL teams may not like as much, and he might fall out of the first, and then someone ends up getting, just an outstanding player early second.
Lance Zierlein over at NFL.com has compared him to Puka Nacua. What do you think of that?
Oh, yeah, I could see a little bit of that. I think the thing Puka really stood out in college is just, this is something I care way too much about. I'm very Matt LaFleur coded here, but wide receivers that block. I had to coach wide receivers in high school, switching from linebackers, and I'm a former fullback. What do I know about route running? Let me tell you, every single day we coached blocking, every single day. Got pretty good at blocking by the end of the year. That's something I care about way too much, and that's something Puka really brought. I'm just like, off the top of my head, I don't remember true dominance as a run blocker from Boston. So, the rest of the comp I can kind of see. That's just a part. That part I guarantee you coaching staffs care a whole lot about.
Andy Reid definitely cares about that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the corpse of Juju Smith-Schuster was still out there last year. And that's why they basically stole MVS from the Packers, because all of the Packers wide receivers that see the field can block their asses off. Generally, I'm just trying to game theory this out, and I'm biased because Jordyn Tyson's my wide receiver one. I just think
he's awesome, man.
That moves different. But I think where I land is maybe the best value isn't at 9. Maybe the best value is seeing how far Jordyn Tyson slips, seeing how scared the rest of the league is about Jordyn Tyson. He might be a guy that you have to be patient with. I feel the same way about Casey Concepcion and Chris Bell. One of the advantages you have in Kansas City is you have job security. Most of these coaches and general managers do not. So if there's a guy that has no business, if Jordyn Tyson is there at 23 for some reason, it could happen. It probably won't, but it could. Do you wait for something like that? Do you wait to see if Concepcion or Omar Cooper Jr. or Boston is there at 29? Do you wait to see if Chris Bell is at 40? Do you kind of just mine the value, or do you think there's so much separation with these top 3 guys and you've struggled so much to find a go-to receiver with a good head on his shoulders in Kansas City? Just take the sure thing at 9 if Bain's not there.
Well, yeah, listen, obviously I'm not a Chiefs fan, but the way I'm seeing it, you just mentioned job security. You mentioned just, we talked about all the, not misses, but near misses, I guess, at wide receiver. Like, I'd feel more comfortable in a draft class where a lot of people are really eager to trade back. If one of these guys starts dipping, screw it. Just, take some assets and move up a few spots. I think it's worth the swing, especially if a guy like Tyson's on the board.
When the Chiefs have assets, another position that a lot of Chiefs fans are interested in this draft is the tight end position. I know Adam's got some questions for you about that because this is probably Travis Kelce's last ride, and it's an interesting tight end class. Adam, why don't you have at it?
Yeah, yesterday I threw out that maybe Kenyon Sadiq could slip a little bit because of how much depth there is. And if that happens, instead of going wide receiver in the first round, you could go with him. But on the other hand, it's so deep. Do you think there's a guy on day 3 that the Chiefs could bring in that could see the field pretty immediately? And even if he's never going to be Travis Kelce as a receiver, they really need blocking help at the tight end position. So is there that kind of guy who can kind of be a better tight end too than say what Noah Gray was last year in a disappointing season?
I'm glad you asked, especially with blocking tight ends, because it kind of feels like, at least in this class, in my opinion, that's a position I'm still lagging on. I've only watched 7 guys, but so many of them are just slots. I will say I fantasize Kenyon Sadiq being the Travis Kelce successor. I just think it's like the most perfect succession plan you could have at that position. I don't think he gets enough credit as a blocker, and I think he's like kind of the perfect move F tight end to not just play slot. He can actually like block a little bit. But if you're looking for a blocker, day 3, maybe 3rd round, Sam Roush out of Stanford. Now he's got, we always say, quote, tiny T-Rex arms, 30 and 5-inch arms, but I love his blocking effort because he's at least, getting in there. He's 6'6", 267. I'm pretty impressed still with how he blocks. He's got really good leg drive and lower body strength, so he's going to move guys. And even though he's got those tiny arms, at least the hands are in a royal place, and he can move up the seam a little bit. Tested quite well at the combine. He's one of those names I think would make a lot of sense. Now he's got some drop issues, and again the tiny arms. But if you just need a guy, especially in Kelce's last year, like, hey, let's run some 12 personnel, let's get this guy in line and just move some bodies for Kenneth Walker, I think Roush is your guy.
Have you watched Oscar Delp yet? I know he's a guy that just had a visit with the Chiefs.
I've not gotten to him on film, and I've watched him just on broadcast because, grew up a Georgia fan, which is a whole different story. But as an IU grad, I think that allegiance has to retire. Oscar Delp is an interesting one. I liked his tape from a year, 2 years ago. I feel like he's been there forever at this point.
He was buried kind of under Bowers, right?
Yeah, yes. But he was always like one of those guys that would come in and you're like, he's making a couple nice plays here and there. Rock solid frame. I think he can do a little bit of both. I'm not expecting him to be like an impact star or anything, but he can contribute for sure.
What about the cornerback position and just DBs in general? The Chiefs pretty much, they traded Trent McDuffie away. Jalen Watson's gone. I mean, they just kind of emptied out their room over this offseason. So there's almost no scenario where they don't take at least one defensive back in this draft. How deep is it at the cornerback position in particular?
That might be the deepest position in my eyes. I've watched 18 corners and I like all of them. So that could be why the Chiefs decided to, move on and make that trade. Just like Steve, I'll never not trust Steve Spagnuolo with whatever he wants to do with this defense. But my question for you guys, as far as corner depth, does Spagnuolo have a preference? Does he want guys that are just going to press the hell out of receivers? That kind of seems like the trend. If we're looking at guys like that, I mean, I think of Davison Igbinosun out of another Ohio State guy. I'm not trying to pander to you, Patrick, but Igbinosun is a guy, if you had told me a year ago was going to be, one of my top corners, I would have laughed in your face. Most penalized player in college football. He managed to cut down the penalties without giving up the physicality. He's long. He is physical. He can press. He's crazy athletic for a 6'2", 190 guy. I really like him. If we're looking at other press guys, I'm curious by Julian Neal. I think he's more of a quarters corner, but he's 6'2", 203, loves to play the run. I think the hips are maybe a little stiff, which worries me as a press guy, but he's got the length to do it. And then there's a couple others. I think Will Lee is an intriguing one. I'm just looking through here. A lot of the guys I really like, though, typically tend to be more versatile corners. And, a Delane, I think, could absolutely be in play at 9.
It's funny that you mentioned penalties because I think Steve Spagnuolo almost likes a guy who's a little prone to penalties and is going to push the limits there. If you think back to Bashad Breeland L'Jarius Sneed was the most flagged defender in the league 1 year. Noel Williams was always in the mix, about to get a penalty last year. So I think that's a great call. What do you think about the two pterodactyl Washington corners?
So Tacario Davis is a guy I'd watched back at Arizona, and I was just like, oh man, this guy might be something really special. I want to say that was the 2024 draft. I'd gotten notes on him, and then it just felt like every year he kept getting worse. And there's still something there. I get worried about the lack of fluidity because it looks like he's just gotten stiffer and stiffer as time has gone on, which worries me. I have not gotten to the other Washington guy, but I've heard good things. He's literally on like a list of 5 guys that are up next for me to watch. Yeah, so
Ephesian Prysock. He's got the
most sick name,
Key and Peele name I've ever heard in my life. So,
all right. So, Tyler, before we let you go, I want to put you for a minute in an exercise. You're a scout on Brett Veach's staff, and the Chiefs have 9, 29, 40, and 74. Who are the names? If Brett comes to you and says, Tyler, 9, 29, 40, and 74, who are my guys?
Okay. All right. So I think I already talked enough about Carnell Tate, but we'll just move that one to the side. Mansour Delane is literally my number 9 ranked prospect. This is a guy I've been watching since his days at Virginia Tech, and I was like, that is a sticky corner. And then the instincts really pop out, and boy, did they pop out in LSU. One of my favorite things about him, he's going to bait you when he's like a flat zone drop defender. He loves just sitting in that grass, reading the quarterback's eyes, and he might jump a spot route in the slot. He might, bait you to throw into that hole shot behind him. And he's got the movement skills and length to do all of that. And he's not afraid to be physical. So I'll bang the table for Delane at 9. What are you guys picking? You said 29?
29.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking here. Man, there's a couple names I could do. I'm literally just looking at my board right now. Designated pass rusher, is that something you guys would say that you need?
That's iffy with Spags. He's going to want guys to be sturdy and good against the run.
Then I got one. TJ Parker out of Clemson. I'll bang the table for any Clemson player at this point. I think the top, like you'd look at all these like quote unquote top 50 first round guys, even DeMonte Capehart as a day 3 pick. I think he is not getting enough attention at defensive tackle, but I love TJ Parker. If you want a power rusher, man, 6'3", 263, 33 plus inch arms. His 2024 tape was like, this is an elite power rusher. Some of the best hand usage of any power rusher you'll watch. He uses that to play the run as well. He's just super physical with enough juice and athleticism that I think makes him a really dangerous threat, because I like a power rusher that can use that to layer onto other things. That's a guy I'd be talking an awful lot about. You're gonna have to keep giving me the numbers because I'm just panic
40.
All right, we've already talked about a wide receiver. We've talked about an edge. Give me some other positions. I'll get it churning.
They need DBs,
defensive tackle.
Maybe at this point you could be looking at tackle, like a right tackle prospect.
Man, I want to say Ihanashore, but I don't think he's going to be there. The offensive tackle out of Arizona State. Interior lineman? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Offensively, I don't think so. They've got Kingsley Creed and Trey Smith. So
what about a nose? Just a true nose.
They just signed Tyrus Tonga out of.
Dude, you guys are killing me.
I know it's tough. I think it's mainly going to be. It's hard because I don't think the Chiefs are probably going to look at a defensive back here unless the value falls in their laps, because they're so good at identifying these guys late.
Linebacker.
They could. They've picked Willie Gay in the second, Leo Chanel in the third, and Nick Bolton in the second in the past. So we could see it.
Let me pitch you on Jacob Rodriguez, a guy that I thought I was not going to like on film. I was just going to say, yeah, turnovers aren't a sticky stat. This is super variance dependent, and that's just all show. And he's small, right? So like, there's nothing about him as a prospect I'm going to like, even though I love the player and the story, and it's all incredible, and the mustache. You turn on the tape on this guy, one of the best peanut punchers you'll see on tape. His forced fumbles are not a fluke. Those are straight up like, I'm finding the opportunity and timing up this punch and locating the football and getting these out. He's super instinctive in coverage for a smaller guy, which you have to be. He moves way better than you'd expect, so he can jump passes. He'll bait you into them. He's throwing his face into runs. I think everything about that, plus being a Big 12 guy, I imagine, Kansas City, people are going to kind of like, having a Big 12 guy in there. He'll become a fan favorite. We'll sell a ton of jerseys so we can get ownership on board with this pick. And I just think I thought it was a guy I was going to be lower on. And then I watched him and I was like, I was so wrong about this evaluation.
PFF gave him a 94 run defense grade and a 92 pass coverage grade.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not too shabby.
All right, and then last pick.
74.
74. Okay.
This is where we could be looking at, tight end depth. Are there any other, rotational pass rusher guys that are sneaky that could help?
We talked about safeties. Do you guys need a rangy safety, a ball hawk?
They could use anything. I don't think any of the three guys are like enough of a mainstay to say, don't take the best guy available at safety.
Well, let me tell you, in a class full of, we talked about box guys, versatile guys, all of this, Bud Clark out of TCU might be the only actual free safety in this class. He is built like a corner. He is smaller, but man, he will bait you into bad throws. He is great at deep ball tracking. His explosiveness is tremendous for a player of his, size. I just love the sticky coverage skills. As a run defender, yeah, he's a little smaller and a little worries me, but he does not care. He's flying in. He's really just trying to get low, and the tackling technique's not awesome, but the willingness you cannot coach, and he is just throwing his face into that stuff. Now, I do draft talk weekly with my co-host Justice Mosqueda, who's also at Acme Packing Company. He's talked to some scouts. There is a character flag there. We don't have any specifics about it, so I don't want to say anything or pull anything out of my butt there. But that's something to monitor. But I loved the tape. That was one of the guys I tweeted about, I think this week or last week. I was like, I'm mad that I went through this whole months and months of scouting and I just got to Bud Clark.
He shows up in a lot of Chiefs mocks, I see.
I think the Chiefs were going to be out on him when I looked at his age, because I remembered that he was older. But now that you say character flags, they might be in on him. They are never afraid to take a chance on a guy with character flags.
Listen, being on a Chiefs podcast, I want to make sure I don't mention that, but I'm glad that you guys brought something up about that.
Yeah. What can you do?
All right, Tyler, we're going to let you get out of here. This was super insightful. Guys, make sure you're following Tyler on Twitter, on his YouTube channel, Best Available. You're going to get more great insights, and I'm sure he's going to have a ton to offer as the draft gets closer. And Tyler, we'll have to get you back at least either right before the draft or right after to let us know what we got here.
I'd love to. Appreciate that, guys.
Yeah. Appreciate you, man. So good to see you, and we'll talk soon.
Likewise.
Yeah. See you, Tyler. Tyler Brooke from Best Available. That was awesome, man. I love having these people. We do the best we can, right? Like, we're not professional scouts, and we had day jobs and all that stuff, but like, it's just to have somebody who is just in that world all the time, looking at the prospects, have good informed opinions. It's always super insightful.
I agree. And I like some of the names he said. I'm a Bud Clark fan. I'm a TJ Parker fan. So it makes a lot of sense.
All right. I want to move away from the draft talk here for just a minute and into a discussion that I thought would be kind of fun, which is, we waited our entire lives, pretty much. You and I are close to around the same age. We waited forever for a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. And I want to know from you guys on the audience as well. Let us know if you're watching on YouTube. When did you know that? When was like the moment that you knew Patrick Mahomes wasn't normal? Like, where you went from like being excited, we finally drafted a quarterback and like he's playing well, to like was there a play or a game where you were like, oh shit, like this is it, like he's here?
Very kind of you to say we're the same age. We are close in the grand scheme of things, but I appreciate that. So a couple of moments where I first thought, okay, this is different than any homegrown quarterback in my lifetime. I think there was a preseason play against the 49ers. There was in his first start to play against the Broncos, just kind of like scrambling around, laser arm. 99.9% of humans can't make that throw. But the moment where I knew he was the one, the Morpheus in the Matrix, watching Neo moment, was that AFC Championship game. I guess it would have been the 2019 season, but it was 2020 at that point against the Titans, about to go into halftime. And he has that run where he's pump faking and tiptoeing on the sideline and spinning and diving in. And I'm just like, yeah, he doesn't see players. He sees green coat out there on the field. I think that's the moment where I'm like, this is the best player in the league. This is probably the most talented player I've ever seen in my life watching football. Not even hyperbole run amok. I mean, he just really is that special. How about you?
For me, there's a couple moments, but I think the moment where I really knew something was different here was in his third game in 2019 or 2018 against the 49ers, when they were in the red zone and he made that play where the pocket collapsed on him and he went to his left and then came back to his right and ran all the way over to the sideline and threw that missile in the back corner of the end zone. And after a couple of games, like after seeing what he did against Pittsburgh, who had always been just the bane of our existence as Chiefs fans and their defense and stuff, the way he lit them up, when he made that play against San Francisco, which is on every Mahomes highlight reel, I stood up with such giddy excitement. It was the first time I knew he was going to make a play like that. Look, that's Alex Smith. That's Matt. Like, it's a sack. It's like an insta sack. They don't even try to run away. They just like put their head down, protect the ball, and crumble. And then I remember that the announcer, as Mahomes is running around, he said, "Mahomes is in trouble." And I just totally didn't think about it. I just shouted, "He's not in trouble. You're in trouble." Because I knew before he threw the ball, I knew he was going to get away and do something special. And then he did. He makes this incredible throw. And I sat down and I had never seen a Chiefs quarterback do anything like that. You know what I mean? I was like, this is crazy. And I think that's what I knew. This isn't like before when like Matt Castle we went 10-6 with Matt Castle and we made the playoffs. Like, no, this guy has a skill set and a tool set, and he sees the field in a way that we've never seen before. And and the other thing that I jotted down here, and I want to hear what you have to say is too, like, when did you fully believe, when were you waiting for the other shoe to drop? Because I think at that point for me, I was like, okay, he's special. Like, this is different, right? But there's, as a Chiefs fan with a lot of trauma in the back of my mind, I was like, all right, but I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? When did you know he was for real? Like, when did you fully believe? And for me, it was in the Arrowhead Stadium with your brother, Zach, the game against the Houston Texans. When they came back in that game, because that game was every single, and this was 2019, every single Chiefs playoff heartbreak from my childhood growing up in the 90s. It was like, of course, right? Marty, you go, you win the division, you win the AFC, you get to the playoffs, you have home field advantage, and then you lose in some gut-wrenching fashion. And it was all setting up to continue that narrative. And he slayed it in that game. And then I really kind of realized, if you look back at that whole run where they won that first Super Bowl, every single game, it was like he erased the sins of previous Chiefs failures. He did it against the Texans. It looked like they were in trouble there for a minute against the Titans. Then he goes to the Super Bowl and like, I thought it was over. It's fourth quarter. We're down 10. There's like 7 minutes left. Like, we finally made it, but it's just not our time. And he slayed each of those three dragons in that run. But it was the Texans game where I knew, like, oh yeah, no, like, it's not the same. It's not going to be the same as it was before with this guy.
So a little bit before me, I think there's different levels to this. That playoff run was definitely where a lot of us said, okay, this is not just a guy, it's the guy.
Yeah.
But in terms of a guy, like, he's a Hall of Famer, a future Hall of Famer, not just like the most talented quarterback we've ever seen. There were some earlier moments. I think I was hesitant to get like too over my skis in 2018, just because I've been conditioned my entire life as a Chiefs fan for the other shoe to drop, and just didn't want to get ahead of myself, but felt really good. And then it was November 19th, 2018. I believe his first Monday Night Football game out in Los Angeles. He throws for almost 500 yards, 6 TDs. Probably the greatest regular season I've ever seen. Defense be damned. That 54-51 shootout that they lost to the Rams. Very good Rams team, by the way. That team went to the Super Bowl. If it weren't for Dee Ford, the Chiefs probably would have played that team in a Super Bowl rematch, but I digress. And then there's another moment, everyone talks about the losses to Tom Brady, but during the regular season in 2019, the Chiefs went into Gillette Stadium, went into Foxborough on a cold December night, where the Patriots never lose at Gillette, right? Like ever during their dynasty. And he marched in there and beat Tom Brady. And that was another moment where I'm like, okay, I think it was 23-16. And it wasn't like it was an ugly game, but I think he played really well late. And you just kind of saw, okay, he can go toe to toe with literally anybody.
And that's what Belichick did. Like he wanted to make those games ugly. Really fun discussion. Love some of the people in the chat. Brandon says, I was watching the game with my nephew and we both just laughed and said, how the hell did he do that? I think thinking about the 49ers game. It's just been so fun. And after so many years of always expecting for the Chiefs to find a way to lose, to have a guy that is probably going to find a way to win more often than not is really cool. Before we get out of here, everybody, I wanted to let you know, if you want to become a member of the Chiefs of the Arrowhead Addict podcast, check out the link in the description. Now's a really great time to get involved. But we do a little bit of a tradition here, Adam and I, for my segment, Paddy's Power Rankings, where we rank films because we both love movies. And we're switching up a little bit this week. And we're going to do we're going to recommend 3 90s teen movies. 80s and 90s were tremendous for if you liked teen movies, period. But 90s was a really interesting decade. So why don't you kick us off, Adam, with your number 3?
Yeah, I was watching The Faculty last night, and that's actually the movie that kicked this off. And that's like right of my era of high school. Just a crazy cast you've got. And for those of you who don't know, this is a like kind of body snatchers high school movie from, I want to say 1998. Does that sound right? Right around there. Just a crazy cast. I think it was like Josh Hartnett's first ever movie, but you have Elijah Wood right before he became Frodo, like Jon Stewart, like I said. And Salma Hayek is like a nurse in this movie, but I could keep going all day, but it's just a crazy cast. And it's just a fun movie. And if you are looking for just the kind of like attitude, the vibe, the music, the way it felt being at school in the late 90s, if you want a time capsule for what it felt to be there, I think that's a very good movie. And then like double header, I'm going to do a tie for 3. I'm going to cheat just because I think this would be an excellent double header. Cruel Intentions. Neither of these are like Oscar-worthy movies, but they are just guilty treats, maybe even guilty treasures. Cruel Intentions is like kind of like this prep school. What would you even compare it to? It's kind of
it's Dangerous Liaisons.
It's Dangerous Liaisons. There you go. It's very sordid and very risque. And it's
literally Dangerous Liaisons, like with high school kids. It's just like 10 Things I Hate About You is Taming of the Shrew, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, I just think it's kind of exquisite trash, and that's got Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Phillippe and 2 fun movies.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's going to be some Ryan Phillippe in this one. Great 90s character actor. Number 3, I don't know, maybe I should have put this one number 1, is Empire Records. I feel like if aliens landed and they were like, what is it like to be a cool teen in the 90s? You show them Empire Records. I mean, watching that, I was a little bit younger, but I wanted to be. That's where I wanted to work, man. I wanted to work in like in a movie, in a music store, and with other cool teenagers, and they're all beautiful, and it's melodramatic, and it's just like a great, interesting film. In there, you get Liv Tyler, and it just classic 90s teen movie. Rex Manning Day still gets celebrated to this day as well, if you know the reference. Good soundtrack.
Yeah, absolutely. Fun movie. And I agree. A lot of these are, I think the 90s are kind of back in. It's super fun to revisit right now because we finally have enough distance. The early 90s are a little bit of a different beast, but the late 90s certainly have distinctive DNA. And I'm going to go with something a little different here for number 2. I'm going to go with Pleasantville, just because I think it's such kind of an original inspired movie where you basically have Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon, these two teenagers, siblings with vastly different attitudes, who essentially get stuck in a Leave It to Beaver TV show where they're in a perfect town, and them joining this perfect town totally disrupts the equilibrium. And it starts going, I won't give it away, but things change dramatically. You've got Jeff Daniels in this movie. It's a really fun cast. I'm a big fan of it. I think it holds up pretty well. Not a perfect film, but I just think like there are a lot of great teen movies that happened during this time period. This might have been the biggest swing and the most original of them all.
I love Pleasantville. I had a Pleasantville poster in my bedroom. Like Joan Allen's turn in this movie. Like, it seems sort of silly. Like, they go into the TV and like they're stuck in this TV show, and it's funny until it's not. And then it's like actually really heartbreaking in a lot of ways. And particularly William H. Macy's character, where I feel like they did a really interesting thing with him and Jeff Daniels and Joan Allen. And he has some actually really heartbreaking work as an actor in that movie. I love it.
And you got JT Walsh. I got to mention my favorite character actor from the 90s because he passed away right around there. I don't know if you remember him, but that dude was in everything, and he's the ultimate, like, what's that guy's name guy.
Yeah. Good. By the way, good double feature for you is Pleasantville. And this isn't a 90s movie, but a film called The Final Girls, which is a horror spoof where they go into a horror movie. Adam Devine's in it. It's one of my all-time favorite films, period. Watch those back to back. I'm telling you, if you've never seen it, you'll love it. Final Girls is incredible and very funny and has a great heart. And I think as a double feature with Pleasantville, this just occurred to me. I never thought about it before. I'm probably going to do it this weekend. Okay. Number 2 for me is I Know What You Did Last Summer. Let's get some Ryan Felipe in there. I just love this, man. I saw it in the theater. I played on, there were a lot of these movies, if you look, like they're all connected in the 90s. Like there was, I Know What You Did Last Summer is based on Urban Legend. So then they also made Urban Legend. Like the studios copied each other. Like there's My Number One is basically a response to one of your movies on here as well. So, but I Know What You Did Last Summer, a lot of fun. Teens, have a little too much to drink, have an accident, and then find themselves in a horror movie with a guy with a hook for a hand, so to speak. Just it's good atmosphere, good fun. Not a perfect movie, but like with some of the other like 90s teen horror movies that came out, I think this one stands atop in terms of like watchability and performances.
Hell yeah, man. That was during my later high school years. And I remember, same with Scream, there was a huge group of us that went to see that. And it was a lot of fun. And it's the second, the screenwriter for this, Kevin Williamson, he wrote Scream, right? He co-write Scream. And he wrote The Faculty as well. And yeah. I haven't seen the new Scream 7 that he directed. And I haven't seen the new I Know What You Did Last Summer either. Have you seen either of those movies?
No, not yet. I haven't. Yeah.
Those are renters, right? Maybe not venture into the theaters.
Right.
All right. Number 1. This was tough, but I went with Election, which I think is just a hysterical movie about a high school government election, starring Matthew Broderick as this teacher who just completely in over his head. Great turn for Matthew Broderick. It's got Reese Witherspoon, who made a couple of movies on my list, Cruel Intentions 2, Chris Klein. I think it's very funny. It's very kind of like witty and knowing. And it's a tough thing because there is some material in it that is borderline creepy, but the film itself never feels creepy. It's just funny. Have you seen this one?
I actually have not. I'm familiar with it, but I've never caught it.
Yeah. So the director is Alexander Payne, who you'll know from probably the most from Sideways and The Holdovers. It was kind of one of his first movies. So definitely worth checking out. It's just really enjoyable. It's funny. And I mean, it doesn't really say much, doesn't really have to. I just love it.
I'll have to check it out. It's on the list. Number one for me is Disturbing Behavior, which is, if you want to do a double feature, Disturbing Behavior and The Faculty is a great, one something's, these are like sort of Stepford Wives, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of thing, sci-fi horror. So, in one, you get The Faculty, something's up with the teachers, and Disturbing Behavior, something's up with the students. And it's directed by David Nutter, who, he did a lot of work on Game of Thrones, some other things, I think Band of Brothers. And this is just a fun one, man. It's about, conformity, right? And taking away individuality and trying to get teenagers to fit in a box, which was like a big thing in the 90s. If you didn't grow up during that decade, the grunge and Kurt Cobain, it was a lot of kind of counterculture, and there were a lot of goths and a lot of search for your own identity. You don't have to be a jock, and like a lot of the movies of this period categorized people. They did it like, if you watch stuff there was a little bit of this in the 80s, like here are the nerds and here are the cool, but like
Breakfast
really
Club, right?
Yeah, right. But in the 90s, they really took it to a whole nother level, and now you had your like, more archetypes hit the scene, right? You had your sensitive, nice guy, and your musicians, and the goth kids, and the weirdos, and the nerds, and the potheads, and all of that. And Disturbing Behavior is just a really fun movie about them all. About basically it's Invasion of the Body Snatchers and trying to keep their individuality. It's a fun one. Katie Holmes, big Katie Holmes movie.
Yeah, there you go. I can't believe none of us mentioned Can't Hardly Wait.
I thought you were going to take it, so I didn't.
Yeah, I thought about
Get
it.
Your
too.
Ethan Embry fix. We got some Ethan Embry on this list.
Yeah,
that's a fun one.
Empire Records, right? He was in that as well.
He's the weird kid in Empire Records. He's the nice guy and Can't Hardly Wait. He's got a great movie. Oh God, it's like a metal horror movie. I can't spit out the name of it right now, but
I know what you're talking about. But
I
think
I
you
saw
look for it
yeah.
on all Vamp. I think the thing with the categorizing comes from a good place. I think they wanted to show that like always these kids have more in common than not. And they always kind of got like The Faculty, you kind of see that where these kids start is not necessarily who they really are, right? It's not where they end. Yeah. And that's a common trope that I think they did a good job with in the late 90s.
Yeah. And the Ethan Embry movie is called The Devil's Candy. This is a really good film. Like it's really well done. I saw it at, I go to a horror film festival every year, and this is closer along the lines to like Seven than it is like A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I go to a horror film festival every year called the Music Box of Horrors here in Chicago at the famous Music Box Theater, 24-hour horror film festival. And this was the midnight movie. And Ethan Embry was there in attendance and did a talk back afterwards. And So you've got a crowd that's been drinking for most of the day. It's the midnight movie. A lot of people leave and go to bed after this one. And the crowd experience was just awesome. At the climax of this movie, it's really cool. If you kind of like those sort of metal style horror movies, it's fun. But if you like the movie Seven, I think you'll dig this one as well. It's got elements of that too.
I haven't seen that. I'm gonna have to watch that. I thought you were talking about Cheap Thrills, which is a kind of like black comedy thriller. I'm trying to think when it came out. I maybe 2013 or 2012 or something. So he's a guy that's been around and has done a lot of good work, just not really a household name ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Devil's Candy. I mean, check it out. Devil's
Candy. I'm writing it down right now because I will forget it.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I'm late for a meeting, so we got to wrap up the podcast and get out of here. Thank you to the blog father, Adam Best. Thank you to Tyler Brooke from Best Available. And of course, thank you to all of our members. And we can't forget producer Joanne for making the whole thing go. We'll see you guys next week with our regular slate of shows. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.